When you showed me that guy actually thought it was real.
Oh yeah, and there was a bunch of them. It wasn't.
Stop it, dude.
No, there
That's
was
so
a few.
gross. Like how?
There
how?
was like, oh, this is trash, garbage, memes of like garbage and stuff. But yeah, you didn't see it. But
I'm gonna show him right now. How the heck could anybody have thought this was real,
oh, you
dude?
got a new phone too.
I mean, when I first saw it and you put your foot flat up, I first went, no, right? That's the first thing I said. And then I saw the 17 hops on your knee, and I was like, oh, it's hilarious. This was his armbar instructional.
So
For people with my flexibility.
But that's not even my favorite one. My favorite one is when it goes, the last one, it goes for the wrong arm. And I've seen all these. These are all actual.
these are all things that people have done, and we see it.
Yes, they have.
I see that every day in my kids' class, bro.
Yeah.
Look at wrong side, wrong arm, and then look, he looks at it like, whatever.
Not good.
Oh my gosh. How can anybody think that's real, dude?
And then the little bit of ground, and then look, that one's starting to set up perfect, and then drops off. Ground and
How could
pound.
anybody think that was real, dude?
I don't know.
Somebody did, though.
And then I thought a couple people were going to, and because originally I put like $99.99, which could be a price of a normal instructional, and so I was like, I gotta make this ridiculous just to like
Just
weed
to
out.
make sure people don't think
Yeah.
it's real.
And so I put it at $1,000, and there's still people that bought into it, and
It's amazing how many people can't find satire these days.
yeah.
Joke over their head. There's like a gif you could do.
Michael was
Jokes
like, there
going
was
over their head.
no way.
Yeah,
that
there's
these-
no way.
I was like,
Not a chance.
screenshot. Here you
Sends me a
go.
screenshot of some guy like, that's trash. Dude,
It's so funny.
your ability to see sarcasm is trash, bud.
Some people just don't register sarcasm or satire. And
I mean, in some situations, online, it's hard to like tell if somebody's joking. Like, if you're having a regular conversation, somebody tries to throw in a little sarcasm, sometimes you're like, wait, was that real or not? Because you can't hear them talking. But how could you mistake that?
somebody said send that to McDojo Life, and I was like, yeah, send it to Rob. I outrank him.
Goodness.
So Mark Coleman, did you guys hear about Mark Coleman?
Oh yeah.
House caught on fire. He went back in to get his parents out, got both of his parents out, went back in to get his dog and collapsed of smoke inhalation.
Did he get the dog?
Didn't get the dog out, no. But he's as happy as can be because he got his parents out, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So yesterday there was an update on him. He's breathing without a ventilator and all that, so he's talking again. Very raspy and everything, of course. Just a ventilator will make you raspy.
That's sad, man.
So yeah, he's making his recovery, still in the hospital and everything. But man, things like that you can't even like think about or like predict or.
You don't know what you don't know how you'd handle it. You don't
Yeah.
know nothing. You don't know. No, you don't think about it because that's terrible to think about.
Little things like that make me think that I'm always going to need to be in shape, right? Because what if he couldn't move, like, or was obese, or one of these things that he couldn't help his parents? I would feel so terrible with myself that I wasn't able to help.
You know. That's why I don't want to be a first responder. Like my guy.
You gotta be ready for it. I had one of those where I had a burning building and started to be a burning building, and there was someone inside who was reported to be basically a paraplegic.
Oh,
Couldn't
you
move
gotta
his lower
carry him
body.
out?
Oh man, so I show up and I'm literally, I swear to God, when the call came out, I'm like 200 feet from the house. So I know I'm going in first.
You're
I
the
know
guy, yeah.
the fire department was on a suicide person call, so I know they're tied up, and it's just me, right? Can't wait for the fire department.
Should we introduce Maggie?
Yeah,
Smaggy.
special guest.
Purple belt under myself.
I know nothing.
Your occupation is?
I'm a police officer. I've been a police officer for a little over 20 years now.
Yeah.
So, but with that, yes, I had to run up, open the door, and like couldn't see a foot into the building because the smoke is so thick. People haven't actually experienced a fire or fire training. Most people in fires die from smoke inhalation,
Right.
not from
People
the fire
say
itself.
flames and everything,
Yeah.
but it's the
No.
mass amounts of smoke.
They die before the fire ever gets to them. And there's aspects to fire that are scary as hell, right? You have a fire going on in a residence, down, knee level, you're talking it's like 80 degrees. You stand up, head height is like 700 degrees. You stand up, cook yourself, and you're dead.
Jesus, man, you're crawling.
Right?
You're
So
crawling.
yeah,
through that.
so I see the smoke. It's not that hot yet, But I'm like, hey, I'm coming to get you. I squatted down. I could see some feet in, about 20 feet in, sitting in a chair facing away from me. So I ran in, grabbed him, and I was like, hey, I'll get you out of here. And as soon as I said that, I sucked in smoke. And I was man down, almost passed out.
No way.
Yeah, so I turned around and crawled out real fast, hacked up a lung outside, turned around and said, I'm coming. Like, I'm not speaking at that point. And I go and I grab him, from behind, like body lock clinch. And I'm like, I'm just going to drag him out. And I start dragging him backwards over and out of the chair. And I realize he is way bigger than me.
Oh, he's a beast pair.
We end up on the ground, right? And I still got my body lock, and I'm like, screw it. So I'm digging my heels in, and we're just scoot on my back, and we scooted our way back out and out the door. But yeah, that stuff is
That's
scary and it happens
intense, bro.
fast.
That's intense.
But like, I'm super happy to hear that Mark is recovering.
Yeah.
The guy in my case unfortunately didn't. He lapsed into a coma. And,
Oh, really?
yeah, and ended up dying. So he.
Hey, at least you did your part, man. Could you imagine, like, the PTSD if you wouldn't have been able to get back in there to get him? Like,
Oh no, I had PTSD for about 2 years.
I believe it. Bro.
Really bad. Like,
Jeez.
cry for no reason. It was weird.
Oh,
So,
that's
Yeah.
rough, man.
So.
Wouldn't want to be a law enforcement officer.
So sorry to bring it down to the show.
No, no,
No,
right out of the
bro,
gate.
it's good. You got perspective.
That's
that
the
we don't
reality.
have.
Reality of things.
Yeah.
no, did you guys see the video of the lady getting out of her car and the strollers rolling towards the main highway, and she keeps falling and falling and falling?
Oh yeah.
That one's tough to
Falling,
watch too.
trying to get to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she like gets out of the car, falls down, and the stroller's just rolling away towards a busy highway and stuff. And like, overweight and all the things, and it's just like
She couldn't get to it. No.
somebody
Physically
else.
incapable. She kept falling down.
Somebody else got it.
Yeah, a guy ran out and grabbed it.
But those are the types of situations that have you guys followed Mr. Jiu-Jitsu?
No, but I love him. I always see his posts
Yeah.
pop up. People share him so much.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys of like, you need to do this for your kids, for your family, and
Yeah.
be that protector and provider, and be the capable one. And it's so true.
I just saw the somebody shared what he said about, the bad guys don't care that you used to wrestle in high school.
Right.
If you're out of shape, or if you're not currently in shape, ready to go, you're screwed. Right? You can't rely on that.
100%.
Yeah. Man, that things like that keep me motivated because it's so crazy. Let's go. Tyson versus Jake Paul. Let's get into it. So there was some rumors. Let's dispel the rumors because there was a source that came out and they're like, it's going to be an 18-ounce gloves and they're going to wear headgear.
Wasn't it Ariel Hawani said?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Somebody else said it, and then Ariel Hawani came back and said, that is not true. I have not heard anything about that. That's not how this is going down. They're trying to get it commissioned as a pro fight
Right.
in Texas.
So you just said it's not true, but then you said they're trying to get a commission. If they don't get a commission, don't they have to use headgear? Like if somebody decides that no 60-year-old
Really?
Mike Tyson, you can't fight this 30-year-old
Really
killer.
depends on where you go. Every state has a different commission.
Okay.
So-
You know what I thought about though, honestly, bro? Let's say the commission says, unanimously no, headgear only, right? They require it. I think they should just take the big pharma approach and just not do it and pay the fine. Right? I mean, they're gonna make millions.
That's true.
Isn't that? I mean,
That's
big
true.
pharma flips them the bird and then just kills people and then pays a $500 million and from their $10 billion in profits, and they're good. They should just do that if they get told they have to wear headgear.
Right.
Screw it. What are they gonna do? They're not gonna get arrested for breaking a commissioner's rule. They're just gonna get fined
Yeah.
heavily. Big deal. They're gonna make millies.
And if it's the commission, they only have to pay that fine if they want to fight again.
Right. It's one of those situations. It is. It's true. So it's like
Okay.
just break those rules, man. Some rules are just too easy to not break.
Because they don't put a lien on you or anything like that. They just revoke your license until it's paid.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a one-off, right, that would affect Jake Paul because he fights. But I mean, Mike Tyson, his last one was an exhibition match anyway. So if he's just like, whatever, let's do it.
Who was his last one?
I forget. It was a couple
It was
years ago.
exhibition headgear and everything.
No.
Okay.
They basically refer to it as like a fancy sparring match.
Okay.
Like exhibition, like we're
Meaning what? Meaning they're promising to not try too hard.
right, exhibition. They're gonna go out and display, kind of a thing.
Display some boxing.
Yeah.
All right.
There's ways around it. It's weird.
I mean, Mike said straight up he's trying to retire Jake. He said, I'm going out. People think I'm doing this for the money. I'm doing this to retire Jake Paul. I mean, I don't know, man. I think Jake Paul can beat him. Am I the only one? I mean,
I think
don't
Jake
know.
Paul wins.
I think Jake Paul beats him. It's the guy is age. Age is not just a number. They say age is nothing but a number. Well, to a certain extent. Now, what Mike Tyson has going for him is what's that one guy you shared it where he said they should be on all the drugs.
Oh yeah, Brian Kelly.
Yeah, I think if he does that, he's got a chance.
It's like, if you're fighting Mike Tyson, you are on everything. You are shooting.
And if you're
on
Mike
everything.
Tyson, you're getting a transfusion from a bull, a blood transfusion from a bull.
That's funny.
And I agree. Like if he does that, okay.
Yep.
So you're saying there's a chance.
All right, so it'll be interesting to see. And do you think if this is going to be free on Netflix? Is Netflix getting into the fight game?
Yeah, if it's free on Netflix, they just got into the fight game.
Yep.
I mean, they're probably testing the waters.
Right. See
They're
how it
probably
goes.
going to see, hey, well, how does this work out? How much money do we make? But
I wonder if they're going to try to go legit boxing or MMA after, or if this is just a place for the YouTubers to go.
I mean, is this boxing or MMA, or is this just freak fight matchup stuff? Like they might just go with the freak fight matchup,
Right, they might.
the super fights that people want to see, right? Probably just go with that.
If they go free on Netflix, are they not denying themselves some profits?
Well,
Depends.
I mean,
Netflix
'cause
has
if
got
you get
some big
sick-
bucks.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess Netflix is going to pay them.
Yeah.
But
I would imagine Netflix is gonna see how many new subscribers they get. That's where they're gonna make their money because it's
Yeah.
not a pay per view. You're not paying for it,
Right.
So I would imagine that Netflix is gonna say, okay, we got 250 million subscribers right now. Let's see if we end up with 300 million after this. or
Even if
whatever,
you get 1 million more, that's
Right.
$15 a month until they cancel.
they're
And most
gonna
people are gonna hold on to it, forget about it, or
exactly.
all these things. Yeah.
It's one of those things that's just cheap enough to let slip under the radar for months and months.
Yeah.
Planet Fitness style.
Right.
You know?
It's more hassle to cancel it than just to pay the $15
Right,
for the
right.
next month. Yeah.
Right.
No, that's definitely a thing.
They'll do well.
Yeah.
Jake
Yeah,
Paul
they-
will make good money. But Jake Paul's picking, I'm sorry, but he's just picking another guy that he could beat. I think Jake Paul is talented. He's really talented, but like we were saying, his true talent is which fighter he picks, which fights he picks.
He picks the guys that are just like, what if? Or like, man, he could, right? Or
Right.
the experience, maybe there's a chance. But he doesn't pick guys that's like, oh yeah, that's a definitely run over. He picks,
I mean, Askren, bro.
yeah.
He picked Ben Askren.
Yeah, well, that's what was kind of like when he was first starting to do his picks, right? He didn't have his confidence yet, so he was going through the wrestlers first,
Yeah.
and then he
Smart
started,
man.
and then he started bringing in the MMA guys, and then he started onto the boxers. So he kind of did like a amateur series up for like padding his record a little bit and getting
Big time. I mean, I got Paul, you got Paul. Who do you got? You got Tyson or what?
yeah, I'm going to go with Paul.
Paul? Okay.
You're talking age.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the fundamental.
If
as
Tyson
far
was
as-
40,
Oh,
What
yeah.
about Tyson on all the juice?
Tyson on all the juice.
Tyson on all
I
the
take
juice.
Tyson. I take Tyson. I think he can get enough
Oh,
EPO energy.
yeah. Give him the Lance Armstrong
Yep.
for sure. Give him EPO.
You get wiser too when you're older. So Tyson will conserve his energy. He's going to throw that nasty hook he has. He's going to wait, and try to set Jake up with it.
See, that's the thing. I feel like an 80-year-old Tyson's hook would kill me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. Like if he's on all the juice, he's got a chance. But if not, I mean, it's an age. Age is real.
Yeah, Marcus says guaranteed income for the fighters, not dependent on pay-per-view.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
It's true.
They don't have to hope.
Right.
Because I think Jake Paul did a few fights where he had to cross his fingers.
There was a
Right.
couple of them where
Yeah.
they weren't sure. Yeah.
And then I remember a couple of them that I didn't even see. I didn't even see him marketing it, and I heard about it after the fact. I was
Right.
like, "Wait, he fought that guy? I didn't even hear about it." So probably didn't make much on those.
Right.
I don't know.
I'm just thinking Mike Tyson. That's maybe the biggest name he's ever going to get into fight.
100%.
Is that the time when you use pay-per-view? I don't know, but
Yeah, no, that might have been a better.
so I
yeah.
don't know. It's
Huh? Who
I was
knows,
talking
man?
about this the other day with a guy. And the people. So when we talk about Tyson, we talk about Holyfield or whoever was the previous generation from like the 60s, 70s, 80s. You don't think of, you just look at their record and who they beat and the different names and everything. Nobody goes back and goes, yeah, well, this person was this age or this, you know. So in 20, 30 years, you know, you're looking at, you know, Jake Paul's resume.
And he's got a
And it's
victory
gonna
over
be like,
Tyson.
holy
A
crap,
W
look at
over
these.
Tyson.
Because that generation, the generation coming up, isn't going to go back and be like, yeah, I bet there was a 38. No,
Are
there's
you
gonna be
sure
like,
though? I don't know, maybe. Because there's got to be an asterisk by that. He's 60 years old.
It won't matter because he's just gonna be thumbing through his money. So
That's
Right.
true. No, you're right though. On paper, it's just going to be a victory over Tyson if he wins.
It's a
not gonna
victory
be-
over a lot of big names.
Yeah.
And so that's good for marketing.
Who beat him? Somebody beat Jake Paul so far, right? That one pro boxer. Did he get a split
Oh.
decision? Because I know Paul's got something in one. His record is whatever in one.
I don't really follow Jake Paul very much, but this one's definitely got me. It's the Tyson. It's that Tyson effect.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched hardly any of Jake Paul's fights. I've
It's
seen
that
pieces
video
and
he
stuff.
posted, bro, where he's saying like, "Here's my number, call me baby," and then you got Tyson down there just beating the piss out of some mitts, and you're like,
Yeah, so follow if you haven't seen those because those are pretty spectacular.
Yeah,
"Did you
Tyson.
make that one, or did you find that?"
No, I found it. Yeah,
Oh, that's
all
okay.
of those I have. Oh, I made the Tyson in the corner part of it.
Oh, you
I
added
usually,
that?
I usually edit and add something to it, so I'm not just doing a straight rip. Fury's little brother beat him.
Okay.
Tommy Fury.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds like a good name right there.
it's got that name recognition. Yeah. Michael Venom Page. Did you guys see 299? UFC 299?
Didn't, but like I do, I just watched the highlights.
Yeah. Michael Venom Page came out and dismantled Kevin Holland. It was bad.
From what I saw, wow.
He got about 4 or 5 of his little different dance moves in there, little taunting.
Did he
things.
sell? Is that the selfie fight?
Yeah. Oh
Where
no,
that was a different one.
That was a
Where
different one,
Leon took a point away.
We can get in. I was gonna go into that too. So, do you think they should have taken a point for the selfie?
I mean, part of me says yes because it's a joke, but the other part says no. I don't know. What do you think, Snaggy?
I'm not a fan of showboating. And
I know. I knew you were going to say that.
Not at all.
Taunting
So-
technically is against the rules.
Oh, is it? I
It
didn't
is.
even know that.
Taunting is against the rules, but I mean,
What
like,
rules? Where is it? Is like the UFC or the commission, like the athletic commission's rules?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's sports entertainment.
It is.
I mean, in like football, I remember they used to get flagged for their excessive celebrations, and now they're encouraged
Right.
to make fools out of themselves
No.
after they score a touchdown.
If you,
Right? So
taunting technically is against the rules, so they can take a point for taunting. But that was like there was no like warning or anything like that. It was just stand up 1 point.
Well, and it's
Immediate 1
huge
point.
too.
Yeah,
it's,
1
it's
point
not
is
like a
so
fine
big.
and a 15-yard penalty. A point is enormous,
Yeah.
in MMA, yeah.
especially in a
No,
3-round
you're
fight.
right,
Oh
for
my
sure.
Gave
god!
up a third of a fight just
Right.
because he did a taunt. Yeah.
Right. I mean, blatant rule breaks don't deserve a warning, though. To me, like if that's against the rules, you don't give them a warning for that.
No, I agree with that. And
Like
I
if
think
you accidentally grab the fence or something, you give them a warning maybe, but like yeah,
Accidentally.
Oh yeah, accidentally. Your instincts will grip, bro. Your instincts will grip while you fall,
And
for
then-
sure. You could accidentally grab the fence.
there's accidental fence grabs, and then I'm climbing the fence.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
there's-
letting you take me
Yeah.
down because I'm.
Or when they
holding
put their
you.
feet up on the fence and the toe goes into it, and
Yeah.
they start. I'd be bummed if they took points away for that kind of stuff. It's
Right.
like give them
Makes
a warning,
sense,
slap
though.
their hand.
Makes sense though. Did you see the fight where the guy lost his finger?
No, but no, I don't understand why they have the rule. I would.
It came
I didn't see that fight.
clean
though.
off. They had to find it underneath the octagon.
No way.
They surgically reattached it after the fight, but he straight
Wow.
up lost a finger because of a
Of
fence
grabbing the
grab.
fence?
Yep, it twisted right off.
Oh my
Clean
gosh.
sever. Yeah.
Who
So-
did? What's his name?
I don't
Oh, I
know.
think
the
it's
name.
his
It
name.
was
That's
like
disgusting.
it was like on one of the undercards, but yeah.
Disgusting, man.
They-
I got phobias about like toes breaking on the mats while I'm grappling, so I wouldn't want
Have
to
you
see
had
that
that?
one. I folded them a little bit sideways. I've never dislocated one or broke one, but like I said, phobia city, man.
Yeah.
Like I used to, in fact, tape my toes, and people would say, "Oh, you got a bad toe." I'm like, "No, I don't want a bad toe."
Right? I did judo years ago. I broke a toe and I just refused to stop training and I rebroke it and rebroke it and rebroke it. I had a broken toe for a year.
That's disgusting, man. Such a small bone. It's
I
just
just
like,
I just limped for a year. I'm like, I'm not gonna stop training.
Toes are tough too, because I got like compound fractures when I was a kid, and they still bother me sometimes.
in your toes.
Both toes, yeah, from stubbing them. They call it turf toe when you jam it.
Yeah. Isn't it compound when it breaks through the skin? Compound.
You might be right. I meant like compounding together.
Oh, compress, like
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Gotcha.
They call it turf toe when
When you
the
jam
knuckles
the toe.
are in
Yeah,
there,
jammed it.
and then it has a little fracture in there from the jam. Yeah, it doesn't feel great.
MVP though is a freak.
Yeah.
Yeah, that highlight that I saw, he tagged Holland, rocked him, and it was as if he didn't realize he rocked him.
Yeah.
Because then he just swept him down and like did a little jig or something.
No, he did that a few times.
Dang, man.
Few
Because
times.
Holland was toast
Holland
after
couldn't
that
get
shot.
in at all.
Holland's good too, man. That's
No.
impressive, bro.
And that's what I mean is like you hear about these guys that are not in the UFC, and it's like, well, what are they going to do once they reach the UFC? And
Right.
like Holland's legit. He's not top 3, top 4 maybe, but he's
He's a great gatekeeper guy.
Yeah, he's
great,
been in
great
there
first
forever.
fight in the UFC kind of guy, man. Yeah.
and you can kind of judge where he's going to go based on that, right? Is he going to struggle with other strikers and stuff? It's going to be interesting to see what he does with grapplers, but that's what we say about every striker that goes into the
Right.
UFC.
Welter, is he welter or middle? What is he?
I think he's 170.
Welter.
I think he's, yeah.
Welterweight. So who's the champ at 170 right now? Mock.
That was
That's 55. Huh?
Sean Strickland lost to what's his name?
Who beat Sean
Under
Strickland just now? Somebody just recently beat him,
He
right?
beat him, and it was like controversial. Dana White thought he won.
Yeah.
Not Duplessis.
It was a good fight. I'm trying to remember the guy's name and I can't.
But yeah,
Hey, I think MVP could take that division, dude.
could.
I would like to see, like, I mean, maybe not throw Adesanya at him yet, but maybe, well, you know, why not, man? What's Adesanya ranked right now? Is he ranked 2?
I don't know.
Is that you?
Is it mine? Let's see.
That'd be called during the
That'd
cast.
be weird for it to be me. It is.
Where'd Jack go?
I'm curled up.
Curled up? Okay.
But yeah, that would be weird. And then we got Nate Diaz versus Masvidal was just announced. Boxing.
Nate.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Nate Diaz fan, and I'm a huge Masvidal fan, to be honest. But I'm not interested in seeing a boxer. I don't know why.
He's always brought good boxing to MMA, but you know, Masvidal.
I mean, he lost to Paul, right? Nate Diaz lost to Jake Paul. It's one of his.
Did he?
Yeah, in boxing, right? Didn't he? Didn't they
I
box?
think they were talking about it, but I don't think they ever did it. I could be wrong.
Ask.
I could be wrong.
Did Jake Paul
Sounds
and
familiar.
Nate Diaz box? Let's see what Siri has to say about it. It was a professional boxing contest. Yeah, it happened on August 5th, 2023.
See, I haven't followed Jake Paul. Even somebody like Nate Diaz, who I love, like I didn't even know they fought.
Yeah, it's okay. I get it. That's enough.
Jake Paul's like a bad car crash to me. It's like I want to look, but I'm like,
You
no.
do.
Right. I don't want to give him the attention
I don't
because
wanna see that.
I don't want to highlight him.
Boxing just isn't fun for me. I'm not,
Not at
into
all.
boxing, man.
Too limited.
You see them, yeah, way too limited. I mean, the referee has to be there to prevent a grappling match from breaking out. Why don't you just learn how to grapple?
And then, did you see Dustin Poirier jumping all those guillotines? You didn't see the fights.
I saw highlights and I saw
He
him
jumped
going
like
for
7 guillotines.
Good for him. Good for him. I don't know why Mike Brown was telling him not to in the corner.
At the end of the first round, because he was getting a little beat up after a couple of them. But
Right.
yeah,
I mean, the
was
thing
like,
is-
stop jumping. Guillotines.
Well, we can't see, like, that takes a lot out of you. Bro.
It does, yeah.
Popping out of a guillotine is not, like, easy, especially Dustin Poirier's guillotine. So, like, if we don't get to see the, like, it's a video game, we don't get to see the energy bar. We don't get to see that. We just assume, like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. But it was zapping him. And it got to the point where didn't he, right before he finished him, didn't he have to pop out of a guillotine?
Mhm, yep.
And then he got finished right when he popped out of it.
Popped it.
Because it zaps you, man. It's hard popping out of guillotines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a little biased to the grappling, but
Poirier says that he puts people to sleep with that guillotine in training, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering if he does it without the gloves on. Because when they tape up your gloves and everything, you don't have wrist articulation.
he's an
You
experienced.
gotta-
Yeah, no, it's way harder, but he trains with gloves on, bro.
Okay.
I'm sure he trains with gloves on. I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know for sure, but I don't see why you wouldn't.
Right.
And that would take like an inexperienced, naive guy to not realize. Oh, I didn't realize. Like,
Right.
I meant with no gloves, not with gloves. What was I thinking? No, Poirier's a veteran.
It just makes it so much harder when you have a club
Big time,
instead of
dude.
an articulating.
I only did one pro MMA fight, and I couldn't do a regular Monteleo.
Yeah.
I tried to, but big ass gloves. I ended up having to gable grip finish him, which is way easier with the gloves on, the gable grip kind of finish. But yeah, those things really disrupt your grappling if you're not used to it. Really disrupt it.
And then he's currently made a shirt, "Don't be silly, jump the gilly."
For real, jump the gilly, man. If he does pop out of it, like I said, his energy bar is going to have gone down a little bit for sure.
Is O'Malley the biggest star in the UFC?
How do you decide? How do you gauge it? You go by followers on IG?
Probably views, right? Kind of like, or the biggest draw. So Conor McGregor type is who I think. Oh, biggest draw in the UFC.
He might be.
O'Malley.
He might be,
It
bro.
might be. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Who would
I
you
can't
say
think of
was
who would
bigger?
draw more.
I know, that's what I'm trying to think. Who would draw bigger than him right now?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if Conor came back, he could always,
Right.
because he's Conor. But
I mean, there's a bunch of names that are, people that are maybe pound for pound better than him. But yeah, no, as far as draw, he's done a really good job with his style and his marketing, because the UFC has gone from like custom shorts and all these different things and walkouts to make each individual fighter. Now it's such a
Bland.
covered canvas
Yep.
that nobody has any uniqueness, and O'Malley has definitely made that uniqueness with his hairstyle and his tattoos and everything. As soon as you see O'Malley, you know exactly who it is.
yeah,
And where
that's true.
so many other people just get caught up in, oh, that's another fighter, who was this, who was that, where O'Malley makes a statement every time you see him.
He's really good at riding that edge of being at the edge of disrespectful, but not too.
Right.
It's a lot of flair, but he's not dumping on anybody.
That's true, man.
I like that.
And also, like, I feel like when guys come into the UFC, it's how they become famous. He kind of came in there. He had 1 million followers when he on his first fight. Before his first fight in the UFC, he had 1 million
A little
followers.
skinny kid with a big fro.
Right.
Right.
He was very popular before he came to the UFC, so he might be the biggest draw.
So you have experience in law enforcement, and there's been a lot of changes over the years with what you can and can't do as far as apprehending somebody, controlling somebody. We were talking a little bit about the chest control that New York completely got away from, like the neon bellies, head control. When I think about like rear naked chokes and like control with that, my initial thought as somebody who grapples is, why would you take that away from somebody? But then you watch videos and you see how many times that they're going across the trachea, and you can cause pretty severe damage to somebody's neck, trachea, if it's applied improperly. And I think they get just enough training that they understand what it is, but not enough to like do it properly.
Right. That's the reality of law enforcement. All right, California has some of the highest standards of training in the country. And when you talk about defensive tactics, everything, right? There's a vast array there, from using all your tools to grappling to everything basically that you would do shy of shooting somebody. Although that's being incorporated now, they're putting it together with firearms to make it a use of force thing. But the defensive tactics. The training standards for California, which is way up here compared to most everywhere else, is 8 hours every other year. And half of that time you spend in a classroom reviewing what the case law has changed, in 2 years, right? So you're on the mat for like 3 or 4 hours. You do a couple wrist locks, you do a couple of bladed stance step offs, and maybe they review 1 or 2 other things briefly, a handcuffing technique, and you're done. That's it. Cops get basically, once they come out of the academy, and the academy's on what it teaches them, they got nothing, right? And so what it is it's a tautological cycle of passing the buck between the administration and officers. So the administration doesn't want to train officers, A, because it costs money to train them, B, if they get injured, then you have officers out, and that costs them more money, and they don't want to take that risk, so they don't train officers. And on the other side of it, officers go, well, I'm supposed to train on my own time, on my own dime, and my own risk. If I get hurt, I'm not covered. So it just goes like
Why would they want
around
they're
and
not-
around and around.
Yeah, they're not motivated.
So that's why the vast majority of officers don't have the skill set. It's horrible. They need to come up with a way to fix that. I don't know what, if there needs to be government grants set aside to cover injured officers, something, so that cities, municipalities, and counties are not covering that cost to take away the fear of it.
Are they incentivized to train in any way?
Officers?
Yeah.
So,
For guns, yes.
no.
No?
So it depends.
Meaning, do they get paid or do they get their training paid for?
Okay, so, well, for those 8 hours, yes.
No, I
and
mean
that's
like
it.
if you did extra. Like if you
So-
say, I'm gonna go get my blue belt if you guys will pay for it.
So, yes and no. So that's changing, okay? The landscape of law enforcement and defense tactics is changing quickly. I've been screaming for the entire 20 years I've worked, hey, we need grappling. The Aikijitsu, trying to hold a little wrist lock, doesn't work. When it's real, it just does not work. And I came in with strong wrestling history, so I just take people to the ground, sit on them, hold them down until they got tired, handcuff them. And I was advocating for that nonstop, and no one listens, right?
Right.
I'm just one little officer. But that landscape is now changing because liability issues have come up, right? These things, you keep seeing incident after incident after incident, Chauvin kneeling on someone's neck, right? Right. I mean, it's come out that the coroners kind of covered it up, and he didn't choke him to death, or there's no evidence of it that he died of fentanyl. But still, look at the optics of that, and it's horrible. It makes me disgusted. And then the guy passing out and not giving him first aid, that's complete dereliction of duty there, if
Right.
not potentially manslaughter through negligence, right? And I see that, not murder, but man, it's bad. So the landscape has changed a lot. As far as getting paid, most departments will send officers to firearms periodically throughout the year, and you get your firearms training and you get paid, because you go to department training. But defensive tactics, most places, no. It's getting better now, and thank God. It's like my agency is listening to me now. Finally, things are changing. With the advent of Post approved. Post is the agency that controls all training for officers in California. Post came up or allowed a jiu-jitsu course to be approved called GST, Gracie Survival Tactics, and with that it opened the door. There are other companies coming in now trying to get Post approved for their jiu-jitsu stuff, and I was able to go get that training, and now, hey, I'm officially able to teach these guys jiu-jitsu, because anytime an officer uses any tactic that's not officially trained, they gotta answer extra questions why they used that force, right? And it falls under the umbrella of exigent circumstances. It's acknowledged that your training can't cover every possible scenario. It's true. And the training that they give officers doesn't cover virtually any scenario. No one acknowledges that, but that's the reality. So I would use my wrestling, boom, take someone down, arm drag, whatever, and sit on and hold them down, and have to describe extensively in my report what I did, why I did it, how I did it. But with jiu-jitsu now having an official curriculum that I can teach my officers, it's fantastic, and it's opening doors in agencies all over the state.
It reminds me of women's self-defense, of like, hey, take this 2-hour seminar and then you're good. You'll be able to handle yourself.
Right.
What a joke.
It's such a joke, and I posted that in a couple different local communities, and they're like, no, go to this person can do it for you. And it's like, no, it doesn't matter who's teaching, it doesn't matter what they're teaching.
Right.
When you get stressed, you're going to default to whatever your natural instinct is, unless you've spent a ridiculous amount of hours training to get rid of that. I teach kickboxing and stuff, and it's the same thing. People come in, and it's looks, when you're watching fighting or you're watching self-defense, it looks like it should be natural, or your body should just naturally go in those ways, but it's so counterintuitive to actually be effective and have defense that it takes a long time getting rid of a flinch reflex, to get rid of these different natural things that your body does, to move away when somebody's trying, instead of staying in the pocket and slipping out or whatever it may be. But it's criminal almost to say, here, take this hour, here, take this 2-hour course, and you're going to be good. Now, if they're you know, a blue purple belt in jiu-jitsu and they're training all the time and they go to one of those courses, yeah, they might be able to incorporate it because they're in a grappling situation all the time, right? But if you're just, you know, a person that wants to take a self-defense class because you don't know anything, then you're not going to get anything out of it. I would say you're going to remember less than 1% of what's in that class a year from today. Like, it's just going to be super gone because you haven't drilled it in a year. It's the same thing as, like, if I showed you how to do anything for an hour and then I went back in a year and you hadn't done that in a year and quizzed you on it, well, you've spent an hour a year ago working on this one thing. It's gone. Like, you're not going to be effective. It's not.
Right.
And then you add a stressful situation. It's just not enough. And whether it's law enforcement or women's self-defense, and what is women's self-defense? Self-defense is self-defense. You know.
Self-defense, yeah,
So
is the same, right?
yeah.
I mean, the fact is, though, is that they should be required. Police officers should be required to grapple. They just should.
Right.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. And they're not only are they not required to, they're not encouraged to. They're not even encouraged to, like, unless it's by their fellow officers that train, right? There's not, like,
Even
they
that's a
should
brick
be,
wall.
right? And even they should be incentivized. Like, you should have a raise. You should make more money if you're a blue belt than a leather belt cop. You should make more money if you're a purple belt. If you get up to black belt, you should be a highly paid officer because you're a highly trained officer. And the odds of you know, doing some excessive use of force with a weapon or something is like so much smaller, you know, than a guy that's not trained. I mean, it's a no-brainer, and it's frustrating because you see other countries. Like, I saw a video of police officers in Brazil, and this guy was like a hostage situation or something, and they snuck up behind him, literally just slapped this dude with a rear naked choke. And I'm thinking, oh, in America, that guy's in trouble. That cop's in trouble.
Going to prison, yeah.
That's terrible, man. The safest thing you could do is put a guy to sleep.
Right.
The safest thing you could do.
100%.
Unless you've only been shown it once and you end up on the trachea or whatever, like you're saying. But it's like, that's why that shouldn't happen. That's why they should be like masters of those arts and
Right.
those skills. You know, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. These cops, you know, pun intended, are handcuffed.
Right. You give me a choice. If I'm going to fight a police officer, do I want him to shoot me or whack me with a baton or
Right.
pepper spray me or tase me or punch me, kick me, or just squeeze my neck and I
Just
go to
sleep
sleep
me.
and I
Put me
wake up
to
like
sleep, bro.
gentle. Doesn't
Yeah.
even hurt. And, you know,
doesn't.
it is what it is.
Terrible.
As far as incentivizing, like example for my agency and other agencies are going this way, is we're building it now. So we've started teaching the jiu-jitsu to the cops. I'm going to start setting up regular training. I'd like to do in-service where I will show up on different shifts other than mine. Hey, let's lay out some mats. I'll take one officer at a time for an hour,
Right.
and the other officers can cover the other beats.
Right.
And cycle them through and get them regular training. We're talking about holding open mats, not just for our agency, but inviting other agencies to come
Right.
and play. It's things are changing
The
fast.
problem is that training's hard.
Right.
That's the problem.
I've had people
It's
come
difficult.
take a class and be like, maybe not.
Right. No,
It's like-
jiu-jitsu is hard. Jiu-jitsu is hard even if you do a little jiu-jitsu seminar once. If you to train multiple times per week and have it never really end, because jiu-jitsu doesn't end, you just keep training, right? You get your black belt, you keep training, right? You don't stop. So to tell police officers like, yeah, go do this really hard thing, you know, they're no different than us. They applied for a job, you know, and they jumped through maybe some hoops academy and whatnot, but it's like it's no different than any job, and it should be. That should be different than regular jobs. Not
Right.
everybody should be able to just go apply to be a cop.
Well, that's why fitness standards went away, right? I
Did they really? They took them away?
Oh yeah, you go back. There were fitness standards. Absolutely, they're gone because it's unfair or this or that or
Oh,
whatever.
come on.
I
You
heard
should
that
be
you have to pass
required.
it to get in, but then
Yes.
there's nothing.
Yeah, yeah. There's fitness tests in the academy. Once you're past that, in most agencies it's done.
Unless I would like to see what is the fitness test in the academy?
So
30 push-ups in a row or something?
It's a run in a wall.
it's a run in a wall, and you fight a red man, and it's red man's a guy with padding on. And
Right.
The mace.
they do. I mean, they do good with fitness in the academy. But once you get out, there's no encouragement to keep it. But you're talking about teaching. It's hilarious. Teaching cops jujitsu is like teaching a children's class. 100%, right? You have the ones who don't want to be there, and they're just want to sit in the corner, and you know, and you have the all different kinds of personalities, and it's just it's crazy. So, and you're teaching guys who don't know anything, so you have to be like as simple and basic as you can.
You have to.
I had one come in, and it was just technique class. We did that, did a little positional after, and then the person never came back. And I found out later from a person who does train here, is she had said that to them that she did all right and she doesn't need it. It's like, oh, should I? And that's one of those things of, should I put the smash on, or do we try to encourage these people up and then, you know, develop it? But that's also, you know, there are people who come in and they want to see the effectiveness of jiu-jitsu and they want to get smashed. But if you do that same thing to a person that's kind of borderline and they could be great, but they're uncomfortable at the very first, and you're trying to coach him along, well, if you put the smash on that guy, he's gone. But if you work him up, he's going to be there forever. You know, so in that situation, you know, was the wrong game plan implemented? And how do you know, right? If it was funny. The other night we were doing some sparring, and this is always interesting to hear. And you know, I'm rolling with the guys and everything. And it's a newer white belt. He's got like 2 weeks in. And afterwards, I heard, oh, I almost got coached with the Ezekiel. And I'm like,
now you gotta go. Now you gotta go spar with him again.
Then that's what I'm thinking. And I'm like, oh man, like I wish I didn't hear that. Like,
Right.
because some people need that smash to be like, no, this is where you are. Stop.
Yeah.
And then other people need that encouragement, and like, because you know, I'm letting him work, and I'm, you know, letting him sink a deep Ezekiel, and then I'm, you know, working out of it. And,
They're delusional.
and that's what it is. And you know, it's not that they're bad people or anything like that. It's just they don't know better, right?
Yeah. And they're not encouraged to, man.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was more naive and didn't understand, like thought, oh, of course all cops would train, right? I used to think that. I found out that this one kid in my kids' class, that his dad was a cop, and I didn't know that. And I remember I went up to him, I was like, dude, why don't you guys sign up with us? And he was like, oh, no, I don't need it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what are you talking about, man? What if you, and I described the situation. I go, what if this happened? He goes, I'd shoot him. He looked me dead in my eyes and said, I'd just shoot him. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
wouldn't you prefer to maybe not? You know, it's like these cops they're almost incentivized to just work their guns, right? Because they're not allowed to do so much of it anyway. And then there's that too. Like I get cops that train all the time, because I got, like, the ones that do train tend to come to my gym because we got plenty of them, right? And a lot of this stuff, they'll tell me, oh, but we can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you mean to tell me you're allowed to tase them and do this, that, and the other thing, but you can't do this move? No, we'd get in trouble. Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
California law now has a total restriction on anything that could even potentially restrict airway or blood flow in the neck. So, I mean, probably the craziest thing you could do would be just to run a seatbelt grip.
Right.
That-
gift wrap
that-
or something.
Even like gift wrap, we know there's no choke there.
There's
There's
no
nothing,
choke, right.
nothing. But the optics look bad, and you could have a defense attorney fight that, and we go to trial, and then I've got to sit there and be my own expert witness and sit down and walk through exactly what is happening there.
Right.
You know, but besides that, you see the video of me gift wrapping someone and people yelling, "Stop choking him! Stop choking him!"
Right.
And then, you know, and then things go sideways
Good
and
Lord.
protests or whatever.
The
And
same people that are watching
amazing.
those videos are the people who thought that my armbar series was
Was
legit. So,
Terrible
it's
joke.
the general public, right?
What a terrible, terrible joke. If you are a cop in the area, though, we got free classes for cops. Like, what days do you guys teach?
right now, Thursday mornings.
Thursday mornings.
8 to 9 a.m. Stick around for the normal 9 to 10 class and give
Yeah.
actual, you know, normal jiu-jitsu a try too. It's fun.
Right,
Sonoma
yeah.
County,
Yeah.
Petaluma.
You can always sign up for sure, but you don't even have to, man. Like, I'm to the point now with LEOs where, Thursday, and I think Hector might even want to start one on Mondays too. He was saying,
Maybe.
or a different day.
We
He
were
was
doing
thinking about
Tuesdays
it.
for a while.
Right,
Tuesday
right.
and Thursday.
I mean, and I guarantee if the demand was there, you would.
Totally. I can't get cops to come out. I
I
put
know.
flyers. So any cops, that see this, dude, I put flyers out to almost every agency in Sonoma Marin County, and we got almost no one to show up and come
Yeah.
out. So it's a combination of agencies, you know, who the DT guys that they gave it to, and I'm not sending my guys to that stuff, or it was put out and then everybody went, and we're
Right.
lazy.
Right.
So, dude, come
Right.
roll. It's super fun. You'll get good hands-on training. The classes are small. You got cops teaching cops. You know,
You're so much more
we're there for
confident
you.
in yourself too, man.
Yeah.
You're so much more confident in yourself.
Yeah, and we had a new officer come out, who I had him. I was his FTO, I was his training officer, one of them in FTO, and he saw me go hands on a few times and just casually pick people up, put them on the ground, everything else, just cool. And I was like, yeah, dude, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, come out and train jiu-jitsu. And he came out, started training, and I swear to God, he'd been training like 2 months, and he had multiple physical encounters, and he just put people on the ground all casual, sat on them, held them, chill. And it was making waves through the department. Like, people were seeing this, like, whoa,
Use of force.
because nobody
way
would
down.
do it. Nobody would do it before because they're like, oh, it's Sean, he's got 20 years of experience, and
Right.
I can't be that.
Yeah.
This kid comes out a couple months and he's handling people, and
Right.
it's fantastic. You come out and you roll and you bang heads of monsters every day on the mat. He's a monster, by the way. I got totally dominated today. But you come out and you roll with monsters every day. You go out and you get in a physical encounter with someone on the street who doesn't have that grappling experience, and it's like playing with a chew toy. You're so calm. You're so used to being smashed. You're so calm. You're like, oh, I'm on top. I'm this. I'm that. It's amazing.
Yeah, man.
So
It should be required
should be 100%.
And incentivized.
and incentivized. Yep, required.
But that
incentivized, all
requirement is almost necessary because, like what you were saying, I've had
It's too hard for them.
police officers come in and stuff, and then they're like handing out flyers, and they're like, "Come train with me, come train with me," and then everybody's like, "No, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want
It's
to."
intimidating.
Yeah.
Who wants to go out there and try something brand new, physical combat?
Right.
It's truly intimidating. The best way to get it started is like our mandatory training. Right? We just did our first one a couple months ago with everybody in the department, and the glowing reviews. People are like, wow, this is really cool. So I got to ride that wave and and keep them training.
I mean,
So-
people that aren't LEOs, non-first responders that train, are doing it. A lot of the time, maybe that's not why they keep doing it forever, but a lot of the time they start it because what if, man? What if I'm, I need in a situation where I have to protect myself or somebody I love or something, right? If you're a first responder, it ain't what if, it's when. It's probably sometime this week you're gonna have to put your hands on somebody, right? I mean, if you have an occupation where it's not if but when, how do you not see the benefit of it, or I don't know, how do you not be able to use that as the motivation to push yourself to train? I mean,
It's because I've been fine so far. Everything's
Right.
good. I got this handled. The
Yeah.
new officers are the ones that are most receptive to the training.
I
And there's
believe
going to be some guys, that have been on for a while that we're never really going to get through to. And it's creating a culture from the new guys coming in. And we've been doing it for about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
Every new officer we get in, they get jiu-jitsu as part of their orientation and training before they ever start working patrol.
When I was like 18, 19, I thought, oh, maybe I'll go through the academy and stuff. And then, you see some of those use of forces and everything with giant people. I'm 140 pounds, and it's like, I can't do that to somebody. I couldn't take that person down, and I'm definitely not going to want to shoot them. So, like, maybe this isn't for me.
Right.
So that's why I never went through the academy and stuff. But I was seriously considering it. But I was like, I'm just too small for that. And I know. There's those.
There's us little guys.
There
We
is
do
little
fine.
people and stuff in it, but man, for me, just that psychological of like
that was when you first started, though. Or
way before
way
I
before
even,
you even
way
started.
before I even
Oh,
had
yeah.
any training. Right,
Yeah.
I started at 26 years old, so
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have any training or anything back then, and I was like, "There's no way I could do anything to these giant people." So,
Right.
and again,
Now
I don't
you
want to
could.
shoot someone.
Now
Right.
you could, man. And during the pandemic, I remember I was getting bored. We all were, right? And I was thinking about becoming a cop, and I was asking some of these guys about it. And I changed my mind real quick, man, when I realized all the stuff you couldn't do. I was like, you mean to tell me I can't choke a guy to sleep? You mean to tell me they'd rather me tase this guy than
it's-
put him to sleep? Like,
Dude,
come
it's so
on.
far beyond that now. So a couple of years ago,
Gosh.
California legislature changed 835A of the Penal Code, and they changed our rules of engagement for lethal encounters. Prior to that, it was the reasonable officer standard, right? So an officer, and it still is for everything other than lethal force. It was what would an officer of the same training, experience, knowledge, would they reasonably make that same decision? And that was your standard. And that's a good and fair standard, right? And if you want me to tell a story, it's pretty funny. But
Take it away.
that was the standard. And now they've changed it to and you could use it if there was oh god, the word's jumping out of my head. Not immediate, but if there was an imminent threat, you could articulate that there's an imminent threat there, then you could use lethal force. So an imminent threat could be a lot of different things. Now the standard that they change it to, the big game changer, is it has to be an immediate threat. So it has to be a threat of happening right now. So you respond to a armed robbery call in progress, someone with a gun robbing someone. You roll up in your patrol car, the guy's still robbing them with a gun, sees you, starts running down the street, gun in hand. Previously, you go, hey, drop the gun. They don't drop the gun, you shoot them. That's fair. They could be a danger to anybody they come across if they get away from you. They're going to carjack someone, they're going to whatever. They've already shown the propensity to use that weapon to commit violent felony. Now, what do I have to do? I have to run down the street totally exposed to them. And when you look at action and reaction times, we're behind the curve 100% of the time. When he turns and shoots, right?
Well, now you can shoot him. Oh, but he already shot.
When you're talking,
shot, you saw
when
it,
you,
bro.
right. There's no ties. There's no ties.
There's
right?
no tie. Yeah.
So an average reaction time, like to a stimuli, push a button, is about half a second. You're talking, you're breathing hard, your brain's not able to process as much, you have all kinds of chemicals dumping, right? You're having altered vision, altered hearing, altered perception of time. All these things happen in critical incidents. And this person's running and it's a nonstop yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. You are so far behind the curve. If they turn and want to shoot, it's so easy to get blasted. And that's the standard we're at now. Until he turns and points the gun at me or at someone else.
Wow.
Right? It's crazy.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely
nuts,
crazy.
man.
But I'll tell you use of force story. So to give you an idea of what the reasonable officer standard does and why it's fair. Handful of years ago, I'm sitting in my patrol car in front of the station. Another officer who's a new officer, he had like maybe a year on. He's standing next to my patrol car. We're chatting about something. Call comes out in front of a restaurant. There are four Hispanic males. It's important to this. Beating up the restaurant manager. So he's like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "Just get in my car. We'll go in one car." So we zip over there as we're pulling up to the restaurant. I can see they're in a verbal argument. Okay, I've been to a million calls where you get, there's 20 people fighting, and there's not, right? Yeah. So I'm rolling up, they're arguing, no one's on the ground, no one's getting beat up. Okay, so I'm like taking my time, I'm getting out of the car. My partner, who's brand new, is in the mindset that's what was happening, right? So he's amped up. So he jumps out, baton in hand, and goes, "Get on the ground!"
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, he's Latino, and you're talking about, the Mexican culture, and there's a lot of pride there. So they turn around, and this dude's yelling at him, "Get on the ground." So one of them puffs his chest up, starts walking at the officer. Right? He's coming out, and he's going to, let's throw down. So I come walking around the front of the patrol car as I'm coming up to get to the side of him, and my partner, the young officer, he hits him in the leg with the baton. Guy takes a step back, starts coming at the officer again, right? So he hits him in the leg again. He takes a step back. At that point, I get there, and I step up, and I grab here and here, little trap squeeze, right? I can smell he's intoxicated. I just give him a little tug backwards to set his equilibrium off, right? And at the same time, the third baton strike comes in and hits him in the shoulder, almost hits my hand. I'm like, "Grr." So, but I yank him, and I just go, "Chill out, dude." And he looks at me and he goes, "Okay." I'm like, "Just sit on the bumper. Just sit on the bumper of my car here. Let's have a conversation, figure out what the hell's going on." Okay. So you have two very disparate uses of force there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just do, and knowing enough, I just jog him, and he's drunk, and he's going, "Whoa," right?
Yeah.
As opposed to the baton.
The baton.
Both of those are reasonable uses of force based on experience and training.
Right.
He's responding to, that's the call. He
With his lack of
He
experience.
gets there, right? He gets there, gives a command, get on the ground. That's all fine.
Yeah.
Right? Then the guy is coming at him. And it turned out the guy's an amateur boxer, so he's lucky he didn't let him get close, right? So that's what kind of thing you never know. But so he uses a couple baton strikes because the guy's coming at him. That's fine. You look at my use of force. Boop. I got on my grappling. I was like, if he wanted to turn and try to fight me, I'm going to double leg him. We're going to go to the ground.
You're already in grappling range.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm already there.
Yeah.
So and I could minimize it. So that's what that reasonable officer standard is for. And it's really important. People need to understand that police officers are human beings. We get scared. We get confused. We have all the same chemicals dumping in our system to make it hard to think clearly in critical incidents.
And if you lack confidence, also,
If you lack competence, that's huge.
way worse.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
Confidence and exposure.
And
right?
yeah, and experience, like your experience told you, like this is probably not like once you saw them arguing, is you know, it's, they're not beating the guy up. You know, that guy heard that they were beating him up, so he's going with that, right? Lack of experience, like
Right.
yeah,
And that was my pre-jiu-jitsu days, but that was still, I had 20 years of coaching wrestling
Right.
and a handful of years competing on top of that, a couple of years of judo. You know, I've been through, when you go in that pressure cooker, you guys all know the train, right? You go in that pressure cooker, you're calm when it comes to a conflict situation.
yeah.
So, you know, it's really important.
So we live in Northern California. San Francisco Bay Area is right there. I've heard and seen so many horrible things about Oakland and San Francisco. You know, you have all the theft and everything. It's something like 50 or 60% of all the businesses have left. Is it really that bad there?
Well, I don't live in San Francisco, I don't work in San Francisco, and I try to stay out of San Francisco. And one of the reasons why it would be, it is that bad.
It is.
And everywhere is seeing it. I work in a jurisdiction in Marin County, and we see it there too. So, yeah, when you go light on criminals to be nice, they don't become better people. They become emboldened, right? About 8 years ago, maybe a little more than that, the public passed Prop 47, might have done 47, which they passed it as a let's be nice and not stigmatize criminals bill. And people voted for it.
Yeah.
And it lowered penalties on a lot of things. I can find a guy with a bag of heroin in his pocket, and guess what? I'm giving him a citation. You promise to appear at jail or appear later at court, and you know, I don't even take him to jail directly. I can't. But the biggest change that made is it changed some of the penalties and crimes, and one of them, vehicle burglary. Vehicle burglary was a felony, right? Felonies are strikeable offenses. So when we talk about 3 strikes law. So it took it out of that and it started treating it as a misdemeanor. Well, when you get convicted of a misdemeanor, you can spend up to a year in county jail. You're never going to spend all that time, right? So I can now go out and do vehicle burglary, as long as I'm not stealing more than $950, and you can get away with charging me with $950. Charge me with a felony. Man, I can do that all day long. The worst thing that's going to happen is I get a timeout in county jail, and I'm right back at it. So vehicle burglaries exploded in California over the last 8 years or so. It's crazy. Anybody who lives outside California hasn't seen this. Yeah, but I mean they are completely emboldened. And then you add to that we can't pursue because it's just a property crime. There's zero fear. They just go do it, right? I have literally been there, breaking into a car. I roll up with my lights on. They pile in the car. They peel out, take off. I start chasing, and they start driving crazy, and I just have to back off.
You have to back off.
And I just basically escort them out of town. Bye. And they go to get on the Golden Gate Bridge, go back to San Francisco, and I go back to my jurisdiction, and I start taking the report. And the person will show up, the victim, and be like, "Hi, yeah, I was chasing them, but I'm not allowed to catch them." So,
Not allowed to catch them.
so sorry, your
See,
stuff's
because
going.
not only do they go lighter on the criminals, they go harder on the cops. It's the same time. At the same time that they're going lighter on, they're making criminals like they don't want to stigmatize them. They're like, but let's stigmatize the hell out of cops. And these guys are just bad, and everything's bad about them. They're all power trippers, and you should hate cops. Right? All cops are bad. Wasn't that a thing for a while? ACAB crap.
Oh, that's
all
all
cops
over the
are bad, right?
That's
Like
still weird.
that was happening at the same time that they're going lighter on criminals.
Yeah.
So that the combination, the swing is huge in the
So-
favor of the criminals.
Right, like a lot of policies, seated in good intentions, but people don't think through consequences. Well, we don't want the officers, we don't want to make these people feel stigmatized, so we'll lower the penalties. We don't want people to be endangered, and the officers will get blamed if there's a collision or somebody gets hurt because they're chasing them. So we won't let them chase because we don't want people to get hurt. Okay, those are really nice things, but guess what? Your results are
Bad
horrible.
Bad results.
Horrible.
I saw an anti-theft device for San Francisco Bay Area, and what the guy did was he rolls down the passenger window, throws fake glass on the floor and inside the car, and acts like it already got hit.
Right.
Seeing that,
Oh gosh.
They already got the good stuff. Sorry.
they do that, right? People in San Francisco a lot of time park with their windows down and leave
Yeah.
a note saying there's nothing in here,
Wow.
you know?
That's bad.
So please
man.
don't break my windows. Please leave my car alone.
That's bad. Cater to the criminals.
Cater to the criminals.
Cater to the criminals. There you go.
Insane.
Makes sense.
All right, guys. That has been another hour of the Belts Off podcast. Thanks for joining us. And that's a wrap.
Thanks, Maggie.
Yep.
For joining us, Mag.
Yeah. Try not to be too boring.
Oh, man.